Hi, okay, so let's see if this will help you out. So this is the super cool example right here. And so this right here is a cell you're working on, right? And here's the function that we have going on. So the way this works is there's a margin of error, right? So we know that if you, in here I added a few more rows. Okay, we only had one in the example in class, but in real life we'd have several samples. So here's a case where we Supercola took four samples. There's four samples, and within each sample there's five bottles that they did. And you can see like the average is different, and you can see the range is different. So the question is are we in control or out of control? And we know that it's not always going to be the same. And so when we were dealing with the standard errors, like we were using that to figure out, well, like what is the acceptable range that the average can be in? Well, since we don't have it in this case, we need to use this factor. So this formula right here, um, up here, so it takes the center line, it takes the average, so B14 right here. Yep, there's the average. So this is the average of all of our averages, right? This is the average of all the averages. Take that, the 16.0255, and let's take a factor. There's a range. You look at there's an average range, right? So all of our samples, this one had a 0.25, 0.24. Okay, all of these different samples of 5 bottles had a range. The average range is 0.245 ounces. We're going to use that 0.245 ounces to tell us what our sample range should be. I'm sorry, we're going to use this 0.25 to help us figure out what range our average should be in. And the way we use that is we use this factor. So here's the mean factor right here. And this mean factor is what's going to help us to determine our upper control limit and our lower control limit. So what we know is if the sample size is 5, then I need to come over in this table. There's 5 right there. And the factor I need would be 0.577. Right? And so here's another way of looking at it. Okay, B11, I think it actually should be B14 plus 0.577 times C14, the 0.245. Okay, that should, these 11s in here should be a 14. The VLOOKUP function does this lookup for us. So this VLOOKUP says, okay, take a look at B6 right here, this 5, and then look in this table, A19 through D40. That's what this table is right here. This table here, that's A19 through D40. Find the 5, which is right there, and then give me what's in column 2, which is the mean factor right here. And then we're going to multiply that times our average range. That's how we figure out the upper control limit. The lower control limit is the exact same thing, only we would have a minus right there. So here's what you have. Okay, so these are all your samples right here. So this right here, we actually don't, this column doesn't need to be in here. All right, that it's unnecessary. Here's your average. So of all your samples, here's sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, there's 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, these are all your samples. It gives you the smallest and the largest. So you actually need to calculate the range over here in this column. And then you can what you can then do is you could put that in this column or you could deal with it, but this number right here, this should be the average of everything in this column. This number right here should be the average of everything in this column. So it might look something similar to this. Here's where I started to add some rows in here. Like I said, here's where your sample 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You don't have to create this table right here. You don't have to create it, but if you're trying to find out how our example matches up with what you have, this is how it would work. If you take a look at this 49.6 right here, yep, it's 49.6, 50.2, 50.2, right? That's all I'm doing is I just took the first 7 samples, brought them over here. Here's the range, and here I calculated the range, so 50.7 minus 48.7, that gives us a range of 2 right there, which is the same thing right here. So calculate the range and put it right there. What you ultimately want to get to is what is the average of the sample means and what is the average of the range of each means. Okay, that's what you're trying to get to. Like I said, this whole table doesn't have, you don't have to duplicate stuff in here. You could just use this data in here. I grade these out because the only reason you have these columns is to help you figure out this column. Okay? Like I said, this one you don't need. What you do need in here though You do need something like this. This would be that table. This is a copy of the information from the SuperCola example. It's also the same table that was there in page 544, I think it was. And so what you have, no, okay, so here in the upper control limit, your VLOOKUP function, there's a VLOOKUP function in here. It's going to first start with, okay, we need, what is the factor we need for a sample of 6? And then the table array, again, would come over here and get this table. And the VLOOKUP function is, okay, first function is 6. The table array would be this one. So the VLOOKUP function will look for the number 6. Oh, there it is right there. We want the second column for it. So it would pull value 0.483. We take that 0.483 and multiply it times the average range, and then add that to our average bag weight.